Thank you so much, Ravinderji, for inviting me to share with you today. This is my mummy Jaru, and I'm so pleased that Maureen introduced the concept of family, because she's my friend, family, guide, philosopher, sister, and mischief maker sometimes with me. She tolerates a lot.
She calls me her baby.
So today I'm sharing with you a little idea that is very common to many faiths. So I see it as something that I can see reflected in all faiths and in none, in good governance, in family, friends, foraging, and in prayer as well. So the concept of religions for peace is very close to my heart. So I'm very grateful to Religions for Peace for inviting me to share a few concepts of the good mind, righteous action, and happiness, so that we can choose to progress together in a fellowship, a little bit like the trees show a fellowship above ground with everybody else and below ground with each other, because they say the roots talk to each other and the ecosystem. So this concept of harmony exists in the Zoroastrian Dana, which is the same word used for religion and conscience. And with good thoughts, good words, and good deeds comes a few more things which I will share with you now. The purpose of life is to take good action to achieve the best existence for both the individual, all around, and for nature. And I find this definition of a purpose of life, which is my interpretation from what I've read, allows me to find something positive in whatever the situation. Like metaphysics says, today my mummy shared a message with me saying whatever is happening at this time can be seen as the right thing if we know how to look at it. With these three words of good thought, good word, and good deed comes the concept of how do we use it to progress this moment, which we can see as a concept of Asha, or the true ideal plan within which we can grow if we know how to look at it, to achieve what's called Ushta, or sustainable progress and happiness for all. So this concept of a ring that we form with all those around us. This then works with energy, learning, and the sustainable development of other people, which then reflects back on us. So in today's terminology of the circular economy and the so-called reciprocity ring, it says what goes around comes around, not necessarily from the same source, from somewhere else. And in the Zoroastrian faith, there's a beautiful verse. Mama, would you sing Ushtamai for me?
Ushtamaya Mai, Ushtamai Yamai, Yamai, Ushtakamai Chit, Ushtamai Yamai.
So this says that happiness stays with one who brings happiness to others. A little bit like if we light a lamp, the first light that comes when we try and show that light to other people actually comes on ourselves. And good strength comes to those who share to progress together. So this concept of sharing the happiness we create with reverence for both men and women and everyone due to their good actions provides me with great strength, because I see whatever action somebody is doing as something that I can learn from. And I tie learning into this. So when we look to gain this happiness for everyone around us, it then comes back to us and we're able to learn from all actions when we apply the intellect. So these are the first three steps of what we teach children in Zoroastrianism. That when we have a pure purpose that aligns with the purpose of the universe and apply our good mind, which is also called Vahu Mana, good man, good mind, it generates a strength, a desirable strength and purpose, which we term Kshatra Vairya. Vairya means chosen. So it's a chosen strength that we can use for the good of all. And this universal theme of using the good mind, wisdom, and prayer with good action, so that the good action becomes a prayer in itself, spreads fellowship, world peace, happiness, and prosperity for all, including ourselves. But by changing the perspective from oneself to others, I find that that helps in my interpretation, because each one of us is on a spectrum. So being a neuroscientist, we go through a spectrum of our neuroendocrine system and neurotransmitters. Minute to minute, this changes. During the diurnal rhythm, it changes. During our sleep and wake, it changes. And depending on our emotions and mood, it changes. And I find nurturing nature, once again focusing on what is around us with a good mind, brings together ecology, neuroscience, and the concept of entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship really means the caregiver. Entrepreneur is a caregiver. In the Zoroastrian doctrine, it's called a vidas, that person who cares. And indeed, all people care for someone or something. And even if we are in isolation, we could apply looking after a little pot. Possibly I do that. I only have one flowering pot in my little flat. This concept of preparing something with a progressive mentality, with purity. So even going through the cleaning of the ground is a very positive experience for me. Acquired and innate wisdom can be applied to how to clean, what to then plant. Then comes the nurturing and caring aspect. To grow something, whether it's a baby at home for a lady in isolation with just a baby, or a pot at home to grow a plant, or a full family that one is looking after single-handedly, it's still growing something that adds value within that network and in the greater society. And that concept of nurturing brings in itself a concept of self-regulation, nourishing benevolence, leading to completeness. These are the three next steps that we teach children. Then once that is grown, whatever we grow, we then share in such a way with others.
Not a baby, I hope.
You share the joy of the baby with other people, I suppose. And then it's a concept of that plant then regrowing. So it becomes, I don't know if people know this word, amirata, that concept of regrowth, of perpetuity, of regeneration. Whether it be knowledge or a product, that happiness that we share can sustain us and others through time. So this industriousness with integrity and respect, when we apply to everything around us, I find takes the burden of looking after myself. And other people tend to become the network that when I care for them, I feel cared for in return. And this works with nature, because when Mother Earth is so benevolent and unconditional, not just our mothers, but Mother Earth, but other people's mothers and caregivers equally. Then when we nourish that, whether it's the soil or somebody else who's nourishing somebody else, it generates something clean. So from the soil, we get clean food. But when we nourish other people, we can just get good thoughts in return. That joy of that clean thought is very nourishing to us. This then generates a good endocrine and immune system that gives us strength to face challenges, whatever part of the spectrum we find ourselves on in that moment. And it brings us back to the moment with strength, generating obviously the good immune system we need in these hard times, really positive thoughts that help ourselves with well-being and help the growth and progress of whatever we can generate. If we are without work, to generate some new work. If we are working with others, to generate that positivity in the network. And then our mind, with that low stress and an aesthetic, pure environment, good biodiversity, can be applied to good industriousness to generate prosperity or learn something new because our mind is now relaxed. So it gives us good education of productivity and entrepreneurship, generating economy in these difficult times, so that shared abundance of whether it's the economy of thought, economy of food sharing, or economy of actual economics becomes something that we can share with all. And that concept of sharing that with all and generating a chain of positivity comes back to what we've just heard from Dr. Maureen, which is, with everybody, we are stronger together. That's my belief. Thank you all for your thoughts and sharing and listening, because listening to someone speak is one of the greatest forms of charity and sharing. Thank you. This is a song that goes together with the theme of sharing happiness. It's in Indian, it's not a prayer, it's just a joyful song, but it translates as, if you can lift somebody today, then that is wonderfully joyful. So I'll do a couple of lines and then Mummy will do it with me. किसी की मुस्कुराहटों पे हो निसार, किसी के वास्ते हो तेरे दिल में प्यार, किसी के दर्द ले सके तो ले उधार, जीना इसी का नाम है. Sing along if you know it. So this song says, if you can make somebody smile, that is life. If you can lift somebody's spirits, that is life. And if you can take on as a loan somebody's unhappiness because you can deal with it today, then that is life.